Hey there, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something that many of us have probably experienced at some point in our lives. By now you've probably heard of the fight, flight, freeze response, but have you heard of the fawn response? It's a common but often misunderstood response to stress or trauma that can leave us feeling helpless and trapped. But don't worry, I'm here to help you understand what it is, what causes it, and what you can do to help yourself. So let's dive in. What is the fawn response? Before we get into this, I just want to ask that if you see yourself in this description, please have compassion for yourself. I initially had some really strong emotions come up when researching this topic because I totally saw myself, specifically in the past before I learned DBT skills, and some intense emotions came up. So please be sure to self-soothe or use other self-care skills during or after this video as needed. Okay. The fawn response is a coping mechanism that people use in response to stress or trauma. It's a type of defense mechanism that involves people trying to appease their perceived attacker or trying to avoid conflict by becoming submissive, compliant, or overly accommodating. This can manifest in various ways, such as people pleasing, over apologizing, or trying to be perfect all of the time. What causes the fawn response? The fawn response is often a learned behavior that stems from childhood experiences, such as growing up in an environment where expressing emotions or asserting oneself was not safe or encouraged. People who have experienced trauma or abuse may also develop a fawn response as a way to protect themselves from further harm. What can you do to help yourself? If you find you're struggling with the fawn response, it's important to remember that it's a coping mechanism that helped you survive in the past. However, it may not be serving you well in your current situation. Here are some things you can do to help yourself. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself and remember that it's okay to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to take care of yourself first. Set boundaries. It's important to set boundaries to protect yourself from being taken advantage of or being hurt. This can be difficult for people who struggle with the fawn response, but it's essential for your well-being. Seek support. Consider reaching out to a trusted friend or mental health professional who can help you work through your feelings and develop healthy coping mechanisms. So that's a basic summary of fawn response. Remember, the fawn response is a coping mechanism that can be unlearned with time and effort. Be gentle with yourself, set healthy boundaries, and don't be afraid to seek support when you need it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it real. I know there's a lot of controversy about trigger warnings and we don't want to fragilize people, and I totally agree with that. And I just want to give you an out if right now is not the time for you to hear about this. I'm just going to share a brief personal reflection on my experience with the fawn response. One of the ways I saw myself in it. The other one is just like too heavy. I was telling my husband I realized that I have done this in the past. I couldn't even tell him about the second example yet. But so the first one is that as a child, one of my caregivers had a major anger problem, and I didn't know from one minute to the next if they were going to be safe or unsafe. So I never really thought about it exactly in this way before, but I really did try to befriend, be extra pleasing and appeasing to this particular caregiver. I thought that by getting on their good side, that would keep me safe. And you know what? It probably did. It was probably effective. I probably got less of what was happening than other people in the household at that time. So when I first thought about this, I thought, how could I have been so naive, right? But I was a child, and it's a coping survival mechanism. And actually, it was very smart. There's some wisdom, lots of wisdom in our nervous systems going into the fawn response. Because if you're around someone who's violent, if you're around someone who is unpredictable, if you're around someone who has issues in that way, and you have been a victim of their aggression or violence or behavior in that way, then it makes sense that we might go into a more submissive role, being more kind, being more attentive, trying to please that person to keep ourselves safe. If we're no longer, hopefully, in abusive or life-threatening or nervous system activating situations like this anymore, going into the fawn response just may not be serving us anymore. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and to check out emotionallysensitive.com if you'd like to learn more emotional coping skills with myself and my team. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.